Hello and welcome all to a very spooky episode of From the Heart. Or maybe not. I recently just got this very DC Halloween. This was from last year, and this first story that we're going to touch on has something to do with maybe Superman not being such a good guy, alright? I think we've all kind of wondered what would happen if, he wasn't the Boy Scout of the entire galaxy. And I think what I'm about to show you has actually already been done in the movie Brightburn, alright? This did come out last year, so I'm not sure if they just straight up copied Brightburn and just cut to the end of that movie and just made it into a comic book, but it does appear so. This is something to do with Martha and Jonathan Kent before they found the little boy in the Kryptonian space pod, before they were parents, when they were just cool, hip, and square younger people. When they were just normal, not parents. And while this has basically already been done, if you've seen Brightburn, you already know what this is going to be about, but we are going to touch down on that. But we are starting in Smallville, Kansas, out in this cornfield. You see this comet coming down from the sky, and you see this dark metal space pod crashing into the dirt of this cornfield. And as it's opening and the red light is pouring out, you see this hand next to it. This mutilated body connected to the hand, surprisingly. Now, I'm assuming that this is Jonathan Kent. Alright, he is now a dead man and will never see the likes of fatherhood. And then it just kind of cuts over to this house off in the distance, and you're seeing more red light pouring out from the windows. And you're seeing these cool little notes over top this house. Now, I think this has something to do with the Kryptonian language and maybe this slow murmuring once again. This is kind of done in Brightburn, where they're hearing these messages, these strange noises. And the resemblance to that movie and this comic are absolutely striking, to say the least. But this whole story is called Bump in the Night, and we are greeted to Martha Kent sitting out on her porch, drinking a cup of coffee, and looking out into the distance. What the hell was that? Damn bird's always coming up with new ways to let you know they're out there. Damn it all, Jonathan, answer already! Swear too if he's got it turned off again. I'm Married a Luddite, starring Martha Kent. On the plus side, the smoke's dying down. Things being the way they are, last thing we need is a fire eating up all the crops. And it just cuts out to the woods to a Jonathan Kent completely mutilated by this falling spaceship. His phone is going off next to him, and it is very, very creepy. Now, I wouldn't say this is the greatest story ever. It's more of just kind of a fun read more than anything, but it's not really anything substantial, as you'll see of what's to come. With my luck, he ran into that tosspot Naham Gardner. Those two will jack their jaws for an hour. And Martha sighs, and she's just kind of starting to think that, man, that boom was pretty close. That loud, destructive noise was pretty close to my house, and now Jonathan's not answering his phone, so maybe something strange is going on about this place. Don't think about it. Life's too short. Swear too, he comes back smelling like the home brew. Don't think about it. And we are seeing these awesome Kryptonian notes once again, coming out from the distance around the house, and Martha is at the kitchen. She's washing out her cup, and she's thinking, got to admit, I'm as curious as Jonathan's big old boom in a fire. Not curious enough to go out there, but that's what husbands are for. And suddenly Martha is hearing these tisk-tisk noise from up on top of the ceiling. Something is kind of booming around, kind of knocking stuff over, and she is extremely scared, alright? It just keeps getting louder and louder, and now she is hearing these Kryptonian noises above her head. And she says, what the hell? And she moves around the corner with her phone. Not smart, Martha. You've seen enough scary movies to know better. Jesus, whatever it is, it must be huge. Right, just call in Kravitz and get outside, and let him handle whatever it is. That badge ought to count for something. And as she's moving outside, these noises are just getting louder and louder. And she's starting to kind of run towards the door. And she's thinking, with my luck, it's just a fat old squirrel with rabies. Yeah, I think I'll let Kravitz handle this. And she pulls out her phone to start dialing 911, and something crashes through the ceiling. And you're actually seeing this caped black figure come down. And once again, Martha screams, and these Kryptonian noises are only getting louder and louder. And from the kitchen, you start seeing this figure with these glowing red eyes. It's the only thing you can see. It is very, very creepy looking. This creature with the red cape just gets closer and closer. It's darting. It actually knocks her straight through the door, and Martha falls on her head right outside of the porch. And Martha's just thinking, can't be happening. What? And she starts running towards her pole barn. The hell it can't. Move, Martha, move, the shed. I promise I'll never rag about guns in the house again. And suddenly, these lightning bolts start emerging from this creature's eyes, and it's still continuing to just bolt at her. When suddenly Martha's getting closer to this barn, you see this giant laser beam just pass right through her. This is something that we've never really seen in Superman. It's a very wide and thick beam, and it catches the whole top half of her body. The barn explodes, and Martha is sent sprawling onto the ground once again. Martha's sitting on the ground, her hair's been burned off into a short crop look, and if the barn exploded, I don't know exactly how she would have actually survived this. I mean, think about it, alright? This is a giant laser beam. It just cut through the top half of her body, and the barn explodes. So why does this not affect Martha herself? And throughout this whole entire book of a very DC Halloween, you're gonna come across a lot of very bad stories, a lot of typos, a lot of weirdly written sentences, and while a lot of the stories are good and a lot of fun, there's just far too many not so great ones. But now Martha is just laying on the ground, dreaming. This can't be real. You hear me? You can't be real. Do your worst, because you can't be real. And this creature just looks at her, and suddenly he takes off the ground, and he's flying into the sky. There you go. Scared it off. I'd like to wake up now if that's not a problem. And the next thing they say in this is kind of odd. Obviously, through a couple of these stories, some of these people are kind of putting in their own political views. She actually says definitely a Trump administration, and I thought that was just kind of odd to see that in a comic book, and not really needed. While I'm not really a fan of the man, I think it is incredibly out of place. But we'll just ignore that for now. It's honestly kind of hilarious. Martha with her new hairstyle, she's looking back at the truck, and she's thinking, shock will wear off soon. Best be somewhere where I can get help. Right? Sounds like a plan. And she gets up and she's starting to walk towards the truck, and she's kind of noticing that she's been talking to herself a lot lately. That's actually most of the story, is her kind of explaining what's going on. This could have almost just been a bunch of visuals, because it's kind of weird that she does this. One foot in front of the other, old girl. And she opens the truck door, and she opens the sun visor, and the keys fall down. There's a stroke of luck. One more thing Jonathan never listened about. Jonathan, be okay. Just be okay for me. I think you can give me that much. And suddenly, the creature falls on top of the hood of the car, and it's just staring her dead in the eyes. And what do you know? It starts speaking this weird Kryptonian language once again. And if you have seen Brightburn, just think about those noises that the machine was making the entire time towards the child, and I think that will kind of complete the atmosphere. I think they really nailed it. Brightburn was such a cool movie, and I gotta say, they did it about 10 times better than this story. But suddenly the creature just breaks through the front side of this hood, and Martha just keeps saying that it's just a dream. Dear God in heaven, just a dream! And this demonic child just picks up the entire truck from the front hood, and he throws it into the cornfield. Martha is sent flying, and when it crashes on the ground, she spills out of the door. She is incredibly hurt, and she's just kind of coughing and moaning to herself in pain, and the creature, once again, with these red flurries coming out of his eyes, crashes. He does the ultimate kind of superhero knee move, and he just starts to kind of ease his way up to her. You got me good. Just wake up now, please. Okay? I said please, so... And suddenly the truck behind her absolutely just explodes, alright? This creature used its laser vision once again, and I'm pretty sure at this point Martha is dead. He takes off into the sky, and you just see these Kryptonian gibberish going on, and it says, "Look! Up in the sky!" And that is the end of this first story in this very moderately okay book, alright? Like I said, it's got a lot of fun ones, but it's got a lot of duds. And some of the writing and the spelling, you can very much tell that this was done by a lot of more newcomers in the comic book scene, some upcoming people. Now, one of these stories is actually written by a name called Kenny Porter, and I met this guy at the Vault of Midnight comic shop. He was actually signing these Flash comic books, and I made sure to actually buy one and have him sign it. I talked to him for a minute, and he was a very cool man. I cannot find a story in this, but that is the whole reason why I bought this, was I wanted to support this man, and I'm sure it's in here somewhere. I know this one that I just did wasn't by him. Yes, this is what led me to get this story. And it is actually a cool book. It features Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Swamp Thing, Harley Quinn, Shazam, Black Lightning, and Katana, and Zatanna, as well as a bit of Constantine. It's got a lot of different stories in it, and if you're looking for something for Halloween and you really enjoy superheroes, DC at that, I do recommend it. Like I said, there is some good ones in here, but it kind of flips these characters right on their side. It makes them do things that they never would have done. There's one where Wonder Woman kind of hypnotizes this lady into becoming a straight up murderer of men, and I thought that was very weird, but it was kind of cool to say the least. But yes, everybody, that was the end of the story. If you like it, maybe pick up this book for yourself and check out the rest of the stories, or watch the movie Brightburn, because it's about 100 times better than what this comic book was trying to depict. And I actually would go as far as to say is that maybe these people straight up copied that movie. That movie came out like 4, maybe 5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I know it wasn't in 2021, so it's kind of strange, alright, and it's a lot more fleshed out. But yes, everybody, if you did enjoy, please comment, please like, please subscribe, talk to me down below, tell me some of your favorite comic books, anything. I'd very much appreciate it, and I'd like to thank all of you that have been doing such a thing. You guys have been super cool, and I'm so glad that we're growing this channel together. It's been so much fun, and I'm so glad you guys enjoy all these videos, so I'm just going to keep hammering on, and thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next episode.